Curtis Ellis is joining us now. Curtis looking dapper as always. Curtis, I want to get to China. They're getting the pass again. I just want your take on, we're getting a lot of pushback now from the weasel, do-nothing, big donor, Wall Street Republicans whining about, it's going to, because of China, we can't sell them a dollar's bag of soybeans. We're going to lose the midterms. It's a typical nonsense. What is going on here?
What is going on here is these folks got to man up. Somebody's got to make the case and explain to them very clearly that, you know what, we lost the market for soybeans when we declared war on Japan after Pearl Harbor. We weren't able to sell corn, and we weren't able to sell Ford motor cars to Nazi Germany in 1942. When the troops landed on Normandy Beach. But the future of the country is at stake here. You still have people who live in this fantasy land that they somehow think that China is our friend, that everything's going to be okay, and if China controls the internet, if China makes all of our computers and makes every bit of high-tech goods in the world and produces all the manufactured goods in the world, and we're dependent on them, it's going to be fine and okay, and everything's going to be wonderful. The future of this country is at stake. China has deliberately cheated and stolen our military secrets, our trade secrets. They want to get the edge in technology, because once they get the edge in technology, they will be in the position to create the future technologies after that. And all we will be good for in this country is selling them soybeans and corn and hogs. And is that the country we want? And if you put it to the farmers in North Dakota and Iowa that way, they will say, no, that's not the country and that's not the future I want. I want my grandkids to have a choice. They can be farmers if they want, but if they want to be engineers, they can be engineers. Because I'll tell you what, in the future that China envisions, if an American kid wants to be an engineer, he's going to have to toe the Communist Party line. Because this is not an exaggeration. There was a kid, a $15 an hour social media website guy for Marriott Hotels, who retweeted a tweet from the Free Tibet movement. Marriott Hotels got a call from somebody in China and said, fire that guy. This is a $15 an hour kid who's like basically an intern who's supposed to maintain their social media stream for some Marriott hotel, and his activities are being monitored by the Chinese. And they basically said to Marriott Hotels, if you want to do business in China, you've got to get rid of this employee at the most basic level. Our kids are going to be submitting their resumes to the Chinese Communist Party rulers. And if they pass muster, and they've never said anything bad about what the rulers deem bad about Tibet or forced abortion or freedom of speech.
Anything that Chi-Coms do.
Yeah. Even if they are approved at that level, they will still get online behind a billion Chinese for a decent job. That's the future. That's what's at stake here. And if all you can think about is, well, my soybeans might cost a little less, or I might not make as much money on selling sorghum, and 9 out of 10 people don't even know what sorghum is. But
no, you're right. I mean, you make a great analogy. I mean, we were a huge exporter. It's a great example you used, Curtis. It is Nazi Germany, 1940s. I mean, we were in the 30s. We were a great exporter of vehicles to Germany.
Right.
I mean, there was one of the biggest imports that the German government has were Fords going
That's
there.
right. That's why to this day there's a lot of Orthodox Jews that will never buy a Ford.
That's right. Exactly. And I mean, this is a true story. And so, when the war started, we continued to export their cars. And a lot of the German vehicles were for Fords. But, once they got into the war, well, then, the Ford company could no longer export the vehicles. They made less money. Okay, well, we were at war, right? It's so you do what you got to do. And same thing. Japan was a trade partner of farmers.
Right.
And so that stopped.
And oil.
And oil. And
oil.
So when they bombed Pearl Harbor, that was the end of that. You simply stopped selling them the oil. I mean, so this China thing, it is such a red herring because what you have is these Republican donors that want the money, and now they're going to blame a loss in the midterms, which if they lose has nothing to do with soybeans in Iowa, all right? They're going to try to blame that on the fact that the president has put tariffs on a number of Chinese goods and services that hurt the futuristic market.
So you look at we're putting tariffs on Chinese, besides Chinese steel and aluminum, we're putting tariffs on very specific products, which the Chinese have deliberately undersold in order to capture the markets in pharmaceuticals, in electronic components like light-emitting diodes, LEDs, which is the future of lighting. You know, pretty soon, folks, you're not going to buy fluorescent lights anymore. You're not going to buy headlights. The headlights for your cars are not going to be filaments that glow when you run an electrical current through them. They're going to be these light-emitting diodes. They're brighter. They're more efficient. That's going to be the future of lighting.
That's LED.
LED.
Right.
LEDs are going to be controlled by China. Every time you buy a light bulb, you're going to be buying it from China.
Right, because what they did is they've controlled the LED market by manufacturing them cheaper by
subsidizing their companies,
and then so they have much cheaper labor, and then they then they take Chi-Com money and they subsidize their production.
Right.
So if the production, even with the slave labor cost, is $5, then they subsidize $3 of it. So then they dump it in the U.S. for $2.
Right.
And if you're trying to make it in the United States and you got labor and factoring costs, it's $5. So no buyer is going to buy the U.S. product. So they all buy the Chinese dumping product. This is what people don't understand what dumping is. Dumping is when the government subsidizes the cost of production. So you get it in the United States and you sell it at a third of just cost. Because the government is subsidizing it.
Because you want to capture the market. Because you're looking long term.
You want to drive everybody out.
And then you can jack the price up to what you need to recoup your
loss.
loss. And they're looking 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Yeah,
if nobody else can make light bulbs in the world but China, and everybody has to buy light bulbs in China, well, at that point, we can start charging a decent price for light bulbs.
Sure, because nobody in the U.S. is in the light bulb business. Nobody's in the LED business. And then the startup costs are too high. But then what the president said is, no, we're going to stop this right now, and so we're going to put these tariffs so that now somebody can go to in the United States, can be competitive with LED lighting.
And what does China do? In response, they do not admit that they've been cheating and stealing and doing all these illegal practices. No, they then put tariffs on the products that we sell to Japan. And look what they put tariffs on, because that tells you what we're selling to Japan. Corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, which is animal feed, basically. It's used to feed animals. So they have an advanced industrial economy selling pharmaceuticals, selling electronic components, selling, high-tech stuff, and we're selling them farm goods.
Unbelievable.
That's what America's come to.
If you and I don't get the word out in America, nobody's going to get it out. Because A, in our business and media, people are too lazy. They don't understand it. And B, the Republican donor base, they want to buy the cheap goods because it drives their stock up. They don't care about the future of America.
No.
They just want to make more money.